Welcome to the Explainer. I want you to step right onto the field with me. Imagine absolute silence. It's the destroyed battlefield of Kurukshetra, and the air is just thick with dread right before the dawn of the greatest war in human history. We're looking at a conflict that literally decides the fate of humanity itself. But, before a single arrow flies, our sources show us that the real battle, it's entirely internal.
Seriously, ponder that heavy burden for a second. What happens when righteous duty demands the blood of your own family? Arjuna isn't just a brilliant archer. Right at this moment, he's a broken warrior. He's standing in his chariot, and his confidence has just completely shattered. Across the enemy lines, he doesn't just see faceless soldiers. He sees his revered elders, his beloved teachers, his own cousins. How in the world do you draw a weapon against the exact same people who taught you how to hold it?
This brings us to our main characters, the divine guide and the broken warrior. Standing right beside our broken warrior is his divine guide, Krishna, who is just radiating this perfect, almost eerie calmness. He brings up the incredibly heavy concept of dharma. Dharma is essentially righteous duty. It's this delicate balance between your own moral obligations and the survival of society as a whole. Because to Krishna, you see, this isn't just some petty war over territory. It is a tragic but absolutely necessary battle to restore the balance of the world itself. And that perfectly illustrates Arjuna's ultimate human conflict. On one side, you have his deep, undeniable love and attachment to his family. But on the other, this heavy, righteous, dharmic duty to fight for justice. Krishna gives him relentless, uncompromising guidance here, forcing an agonizing choice. You have to choose duty over emotion. So, let's look at the conflict, the seeds of chaos. Draupadi is literally the spark that ignited this whole destiny. After being publicly shamed and dragged into the royal court during a completely rigged dice game, she weaponized her trauma. With her eyes just red with wrath, she makes this terrifying vow. I shall not tie my hair until I wash it in Dushasana's blood. Boom. From that moment, war was totally inevitable. Was started as a ritualized royal game transformed into an overt political and moral crisis. Think about it. The elders of the court, these men of immense, unchecked power, just sat there in absolute silence during her humiliation. When the leaders fail to protect the righteous, the whole system shudders. War becomes the only path left on the table. Now, let's shift to the other characters, the legendary warriors. Take the tragic hero Karna, for example. Raised as a subaltern, he was only ever offered respect and a crown by the villainous Duryodhana. But that deep, binding loyalty blinded him to a really devastating truth. He was actually the secret eldest brother of the very people he was sworn to destroy, the Pandavas. Talk about a massive internal battle. Then there's the grand patriarch, Bhishma. He's this incredibly powerful figure, utterly bound by strict vows of celibacy and invincibility, yet deeply emotionally attached to both sides. But here's the thing. In a war of survival, rigid ethics can become fatal liabilities. Krishna masterfully exploited Bhishma's vow to never strike a woman, neutralizing a literal titan on the battlefield. That sets the stage for the chaos, the scale of war. 18. That's the number you need to remember. This wasn't just some local skirmish. We are talking about an IMAX-level blockbuster spectacle. 18 massive divisions of armies clashing over 18 grueling days. I mean, just imagine the sensory overload for a second. Thousands of chariots thundering across the dirt, war elephants breaking through enemy lines, the deafening boom of war drums echoing everywhere, and giant banners just snapping violently in the wind. And the brutal progression of Kurukshetra escalates so rapidly. On day 1, the massive standoff begins. By day 10, the invincible Bhishma falls. Day 13 hits, and Arjuna's young son Abhimanyu is trapped and tragically sacrificed. Day 15 sees the legendary teacher Drona deceived and defeated. Then day 17 brings Karna's blazing final onslaught. And finally, day 18, the climactic fall of Duryodhana. It is just non-stop, devastating action. But here is the really crucial point. This epic chaos wasn't random at all. It was actually operating under Krishna's supreme leader framework of strategic foresight, ethical flexibility, and massive emotional intelligence. Every physical clash was ultimately decided by psychological warfare. Krishna was masterfully orchestrating the entire battlefield, neutralizing threats like divine armor through charitable vows, and dismantling the enemy from the inside out. Finally, we arrive at the climax, the divine mystery. As the dust of the battlefield begins to settle and the deafening drums fade down to just a whisper, we reach a moment of absolute awe. Vishwaroop. Krishna reveals his true, glowing, limitless cosmic form. The entire cosmos is revealed within the divine guide. Inside him, Arjuna actually sees the birth and death of stars, swirling galaxies, and the crushing, unstoppable flow of time. It's a terrifying realization of just how puny human ambition is compared to the magnificent truth of the universe. So, it all comes back to this. Before the greatest war in history began, every single legendary warrior standing on that field had to fight the battle within himself. They had to face their attachments, their loyalties, and their dharma. The physical war of Kurukshetra is this grand, ancient epic for sure, but the battlefield of choosing duty over desire, well, that remains very, very real today. So how will you navigate yours?